My name is Arvind Kala and I live in Delhi. Why do married sons in India drift away from their parents? I pose this question because in America and England also, every fourth family is scarred by a family estrangement. And sadly enough for the parents, when they drift away from their children, it's the children who initiate the separation. Now, I've lived in Delhi since the time of Gautam Buddha, and from what I see is that Indian parents, they overlove. They're clingy, they're too possessive, and finally that possessiveness becomes toxic and it poisons their relationship with the grown-up son and his wife. Now, and the root cause is the so-called joint family. A joint family in Delhi, perhaps all over India, it's like this: that a son gets married and brings his wife home, and he continues to stay with his parents. Now, he may not mind that situation, but his young wife will. After all, she's 5, she's a plump Punjabi girl, and if she was living in her own flat with the husband, after the husband leaves for work, she'd like to wear a sexy nightie, switch on a peppy Hindi song and dance and wiggle her bum before a mirror. But here in a joint family, she can't do that, because prowling outside her room, there's a father-in-law and there's a mother-in-law waiting to pounce on her if she emerges from the room. So finally, the guy comes home in the evening and his young wife complains, yeah, there's, mummy, he said that so it becomes very toxic, and sooner or later, the guy, if he can afford it, he moves out of home and sets up his own, and by that time, there's some kind of a rift already. And if he can't afford to live elsewhere, then he's stuck with parents. He needs their money, but he doesn't need their company. So the whole home becomes very grumpy. Father, mother, daughter-in-law, everybody. I see this from the neighborhood I live in. I live in a place called GK2, a moneyed area full of Punjabi businessmen who say player for pleasure and liar for lawyer. But they're wholesome and, hearty and all that, hail fellow well met. And, they are business fellows and they all have joint families. And when I see them, they're my age, they're not sweet 16, they have long, grumpy faces. Actually, if you look at grumpy faces are quite entertaining. If you look at it, it's good fun watching grumpy people. But, they're miserable. Now, one reason for these joint families is also because husbands and wives, when they get to be 60, 62, whatever, they're bored out of their skulls with each other. They have nothing to say to each other. And a lot of them have no friends whatsoever. You make friends in school and you make them in college, and you don't make them in later life. Now, they never made friends, or if they made friends, they didn't keep up the friendship. So they have absolutely nothing to do, nothing, and they have no interest. Now, loneliness is not just an Indian problem. Japan has a loneliness minister. Britain has a loneliness minister. The whole Western world and South Korea and Japan, there's a loneliness epidemic there. But from anecdotal evidence, I can tell you there's a hell of a lot of loneliness in Delhi and Bombay and Bangalore and places like that. No, and nobody tells you that. And that is the reason for the joint family. A husband and wife, long married husband and wife, they're so sick of each other. They want the presence of the son and the daughter-in-law to distract them from their misery. So the daughter-in-law and the son become the meat in the sandwich. To serve as distractions, they have to live there, and they look very grumpy. And I think that is the reason. And these relationships become so toxic that if you look at Hindustan Times, the page 3 or page 5, whatever, every now and then there'll be a statement from parents, angry parents. I declare that my son Harjinder and his wife Jyoti, I disinherit him from all the our possessions and money and bank accounts, etc. That is what it comes to. And for every pair of parents who issues this ad, there are 100 or 1,000 others who don't do that, but who are estranged. And this is very sad, and it's this joint family which is to blame. I know somebody who has a joint family like this, and his daughter-in-law has just left the home. She's left her husband, she's left the in-laws, and she's gone off somewhere with the 2 kids. So these are very toxic situations, and the trick is to know this in advance, not to suffer and then know that joint families don't work. They just don't work. If you keep bumping into your in-laws, etc., the trick, if older people want to be, they should have lots of things to do. If you don't have things to do, then and if you're always around, everybody takes you for granted. They think what, and foolish mothers-in-law in my neighborhood, they think of their daughter-in-law as a good pal. Meanwhile, but the daughter-in-law, sees the mother-in-law as a pain in the butt. And there's a lot of misery here in India that I see, and it's older people who are squarely to blame. It's if you get too attached to your son and this and grandkids, etc., and you can't live away from them. The point is, the sons can never love parents as much as the parents love the sons. For the simple reason that for the parents, the son is everything, but for that son, his own children are everything. So, the parents, that's a part of evolution, yeah. So a lot of people, they just don't think you have to be a little evolved, and I think guys should, their own thoughts should be entertaining. Chap shouldn't depend on somebody else to keep him amused. His own thoughts should be entertaining. Well, it's neither here nor there, but I thought, let me just spout a little philosophy. Well, friends, I talk deadly stuff, so please forward this to everybody. Send it to everybody, your neighbors, everybody passers by. Just catch them and tell them, see this video, get after them, all right? Thank you. So I'll bid you farewell. See you later, alligator.